The silent captain, Captain Elias Kim, stood on the bridge of the UES Phoenix and watched the stars drift past the main viewing screen. His hands were clasped behind his back in the same position he had held for the past 3 hours. The crew moved around him with practiced silence matching their commanders. Mysterious nature. 7 years had passed since Captain Elias last spoke a single word to anyone aboard his ship. The Phoenix drifted through space carrying messages between distant star systems, but its captain remained as quiet as the void outside. Communications Officer Minho Park glanced at his silent commander and shook his head with familiar confusion. The bridge crew had grown used to reading their captain's hand signals and written orders. Navigator Jiho Lee could interpret a raised eyebrow from Captain Elias better than most people could understand spoken directions. Chief Engineer Hyuna Choi knew that when their captain tapped his fingers twice on his chair armrest, it meant check the reactor levels immediately. Medical Officer Taewon Song often wondered what had made their captain stop speaking, but he had never found the courage to ask. The crew respected Captain Elias too much to pry into his personal reasons. For silence, Security Chief Bora Nam suspected their commander was saving his voice for something truly important, though she could not imagine what event could be worth 7 years of waiting. The Phoenix was officially listed as a diplomatic vessel. In the United Earth Space Command Registry, Captain Elias had been assigned to carry peace accords and trade agreements between human colonies and alien governments. The work seemed routine and boring to outside observers, but the crew noticed their captain treated every mission with deadly seriousness. Minho Park received another transmission from Earth Command, requesting confirmation of their current position. The young communications officer looked toward Captain Elias, who simply nodded. Once Minho understood immediately and sent back their coordinates along with an estimated arrival time at their next destination. The crew had developed their own theories about why Captain Elias never spoke. Jiho Lee believed their commander had taken some kind of religious vow of silence. Hyuna Choi thought he might have damaged his vocal cords in an accident before joining their crew. Taewon Song suspected psychological trauma from his previous military service. Bora Nam insisted he was simply the strong silent type who preferred actions over words. What none of them knew was that Captain Elias Kim had served in the Earth Defense Force's Special Operations Division before taking command of the Phoenix. His file was classified at levels that required presidential authorization to access the official records, showed a decorated officer with an unblemished service record, but they left out the most important details. The Phoenix moved through space at a steady pace toward the Centauri system, where they would deliver the latest round of peace negotiations between Earth and the growing Vorthan Empire. Captain Elias studied the star charts on his personal display and made notes in his private logbook that no crew member had ever been allowed to read. Recent intelligence reports indicated unusual Vorthan military movements along the neutral zone boundaries. Several smaller alien civilizations had gone silent after Vorthan diplomatic visits. The pattern suggested aggressive expansion disguised as peaceful contact. Captain Elias read these reports with growing concern, but kept his thoughts to himself as always. Hyuna Choi worked in the engine room, making routine adjustments to their faster-than-light drive systems. She had noticed over the years that their ship seemed unusually well maintained for a simple diplomatic vessel. The Phoenix carried more backup systems and redundant components than most military ships. Hyuna assumed Earth Command wanted their diplomats to travel safely, but some specifications seemed excessive for peaceful missions. Taewon Song reviewed the medical supplies in his fully equipped infirmary. The Phoenix Medical Bay could handle major surgery and trauma cases far beyond what diplomats might need during routine missions. When he had asked about the extensive medical equipment, Captain Elias had simply handed him a written note saying, "Be prepared for anything." Bora Nam conducted security drills with the crew even, though their official mission never involved combat situations. Captain Elias insisted on weapons training and emergency procedures that seemed far beyond diplomatic requirements. When crew members questioned the intensive security protocols, their captain would tap his temple once, meaning "trust me," and continue the exercises. The Phoenix approached a routine checkpoint where they would transmit their diplomatic credentials and continue toward Centauri space. Minho Park prepared the standard identification codes while Jiho Lee plotted their next navigation jump. Captain Elias watched the checkpoint station grow larger on their screens. A massive Vorthan battle fleet appeared on their long-range sensors, moving toward the same checkpoint, from the opposite direction. 47 enemy ships in full battle formation approaching fast. Minho Park counted the vessels and felt his heart rate increase dramatically. Something was very wrong with this situation. Jiho Lee ran quick calculations and realized the Vorthan fleet would reach the checkpoint several hours before the Phoenix arrived. The enemy ships were not following standard diplomatic protocols. They were moving like a military strike force with weapon systems powered and ready. Captain Elias stepped closer to the tactical display and studied the enemy formation. His jaw tightened slightly, but he made no sound. The crew watched their silent commander for any sign of his intentions. Minho Park detected another signal, mixed in with the Vorthan transmissions. A human-civilian transport called the New Soul was broadcasting a distress signal. The ship carried 3,000 colonists, including families with young children, heading to establish a new settlement. On Kepler 442b, the civilian transport had been intercepted by the Vorthan fleet and forced to drop out of faster-than-light travel. The colonists were trapped with no weapons and no way to escape. The enemy ships surrounded them like predators circling. Helpless prey, Captain. Elias read the distress transmission and closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them again, his crew saw something they had never witnessed before. A cold fire burned behind their commander's gaze that made the bridge. Temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Yuna Choi felt a chill run down her spine as she watched Captain Elias make his decision. The silent commander walked to his chair and sat down slowly. His fingers drummed once against the armrest in a pattern. None of them recognized Taewon's song, noticed their captain breathing differently now. Each breath was controlled and measured like someone preparing for combat. The medical officer had seen this breathing pattern before in soldiers about to enter. Battle Boranam watched Captain Elias reach for the communications console. His hand hovered over the transmit button for several seconds. The security chief realized she was holding her breath, waiting to see what their silent commander would do. 7 years of silence were about to end. The Phoenix moved steadily toward a confrontation that would change everything. The crew waited in tense silence as their captain prepared to speak for the first time since taking command. Whatever words Captain Elias chose would echo across the galaxy forever. The Vorthan battle fleet hung motionless in space as Commander Veltar tried to process what his sensors were telling him. 3,000 hidden human installations had appeared from nowhere, turning his overwhelming advantage into a death trap. The species he had dismissed as weaklings had been playing a game that made his military strategy look like child's games. Captain Elias stood calmly on the bridge of the Phoenix, while his crew stared at displays showing the true scope of human preparation. Communications Officer Minho Park watched weapons platforms emerge from asteroid fields that had seemed empty. Moments before Navigator Jiho Lee saw defense networks spanning entire star systems that had been invisible to every previous scan. How is this possible? Yuna Choi whispered as she studied the engineering readouts. These installations would have taken decades to build and deploy. Captain Elias turned toward his chief engineer and spoke for the second time in 7 years. Humanity has been preparing for this moment for over 50 years. We knew aggressive species would eventually threaten our civilians. The sound of their commander's voice still shocked the crew, but now they understood why he had remained silent. For so long, every diplomatic mission had been cover for military operations. Every peaceful trade negotiation had hidden weapons deployment. Every routine supply run had secretly armed defensive positions. Security. Chief Boranam realized that the extensive combat training their captain had insisted upon suddenly made perfect sense. We were never really diplomats, were we, Captain? The Phoenix is the command ship for Sector 7 of the Human Defense Initiative. Captain Elias explained our diplomatic credentials were genuine but secondary to our real mission. Medical Officer Taewon Song looked at his expanded medical bay with new understanding. The equipment I questioned was for treating battle casualties from major engagements. You knew this confrontation was coming. Commander Veltar transmitted desperately to his scattered fleet, trying to coordinate some response to the impossible situation. His 47 ships now faced defensive systems that could reduce them to atomic particles within minutes. The humans had not simply built a few secret weapons, they had militarized entire sectors of space. This is impossible. The Vorthan commander broadcasted, "Your species has no history of military aggression. You build settlements and trade posts, not weapons platforms." Captain Elias activated the main communications array and replied with the same terrifying calm. "Every settlement includes defensive systems. Every trade post monitors military movements. Every diplomatic facility can coordinate fleet operations." The revelation sent shockwaves through the Vorthan fleet as alien crews realized the true scope of human deception. The peaceful species had been conducting the most sophisticated military buildup in galactic history while maintaining perfect cover as harmless traders and diplomats. Minho Park accessed communication logs from the past 7 years and discovered hidden military codes embedded in every diplomatic message the Phoenix had been coordinating with secret installations throughout their travels. His routine transmissions had been updating weapon systems and defensive positions. "Captain, how many ships like the Phoenix are operating throughout the galaxy?" Jiho Lee asked while studying star charts that now showed the real extent of human military presence. "Every human diplomatic vessel serves the defense initiative," Captain Elias replied. "We have been positioning assets and gathering intelligence for 5 decades. The crew began understanding that their mysterious captain had been carrying enormous responsibility. His 7 years of silence had protected not just their mission, but the security of entire human civilization. The weight of keeping such massive secrets would have broken most people. Unichoi examined the Phoenix technical specifications and realized their ship was far more advanced than she had ever suspected. These systems are generations ahead of known human technology. How did Earth develop such capabilities? Humanity learned from studying every alien species we encountered, Captain Elias explained. We took the best military technologies and improved them while pretending to be interested only in peaceful trade, Commander. Feltar watched his tactical displays with growing despair as more hidden installations revealed themselves. The humans had been systematically fortifying every strategic location in known space. His empire had been completely outmaneuvered by a species they had underestimated. "Your empire has conquered 12 worlds by threatening civilian populations," Captain Elias transmitted to the Vorthan fleet. "That strategy will not work against prepared defenders," the alien commander realized. His standard tactics had been useless against an enemy that had spent generations preparing for exactly this type of confrontation. The humans had studied Vorthan expansion methods and built defenses specifically designed to counter them. Taiwan Song accessed classified medical files and discovered that human colonies had been secretly preparing for mass casualty events. Every settlement has hidden medical facilities and trained personnel. "Captain, how long have we been expecting this war?" "Since first contact with aggressive species 70 years ago," Captain Elias replied. "Earth leadership decided that peaceful appearance combined with hidden strength would provide the best defense." Boranam examined security protocols throughout human space and found integrated defense networks linking every outpost and colony. "We built a military system disguised as civilian infrastructure. This is brilliant, Captain." The Phoenix crew finally understood why their captain had seemed so serious about routine missions. Every diplomatic contact had been intelligence gathering. Every trade agreement had positioned defensive assets. Every peaceful negotiation had been preparation for inevitable conflict. Commander Veltar attempted to contact his homeworld, but discovered that human monitoring stations had been intercepting Vorthan communications for years. Earth knew more about alien military capabilities than the aliens knew about each other. "You have been watching us," the Vorthan commander accused. "Your species has been spying on every civilization in the galaxy." "We have been protecting ourselves," Captain Elias corrected. "Aggressive species announce their intentions through their actions. We simply paid attention." The HFY revelation that humans had been secretly monitoring galactic politics while maintaining peaceful facades shocked the Vorthan crews. Their empire had been operating under complete surveillance without realizing it. Minho Park discovered that the Phoenix carried enough communication equipment to coordinate fleets across multiple star systems. "Captain, are you in command of all human military forces in this sector?" I coordinate defensive operations for this region. Captain Elias confirmed. Other ships like the Phoenix manage different sectors. The defense initiative covers all human space. The crew realized their silent captain had been one of the most important military commanders in human history. His 7 years of careful silence had protected secrets that could determine the survival of their entire species. Commander Veltar faced the terrible choice between attacking and facing certain destruction, or withdrawing and admitting defeat. The humans had outplayed his empire so completely that resistance seemed pointless. The galaxy watched and waited to see what the quiet species would do next. The Vorthan fleet commander opened communications channels across all frequencies. His voice boomed through space with the arrogance of someone who had never faced real opposition. Commander Veltar spoke in perfect human language, but his tone carried the contempt of a predator addressing prey. Attention, human vessels, you are now under Vorthan authority. The alien commander announced. The civilian transport, New Sol, will surrender immediately. All passengers will be relocated to serve the Vorthan Empire in our mining operations. Your compliance is not optional. Captain Elias stood motionless on the bridge of the Phoenix, listening to the alien ultimatum. His crew gathered around him, waiting for some sign of what their silent commander planned to do. The tactical display showed impossible odds. 47 enemy warships against their single diplomatic vessel. Minho Park adjusted his communications equipment and turned toward Captain Elias. The young officer had served under other commanders who would be shouting orders and demanding tactical options by now. Their silent captain simply watched the displays with calculating eyes. Captain, what are your orders? Minho Park asked quietly, hoping to break through 7 years of silence. Captain Elias raised one finger indicating wait, then returned his attention to the enemy fleet positions on the main screen. Navigator Jiho. Lee pulled up detailed scans of the Vorthan ships and felt his stomach sink. The enemy vessels were massive battle cruisers designed for planetary assault. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a city. The Phoenix was fast and maneuverable but carried only basic defensive systems. Their shields are military grade. Jiho Lee reported to the bridge. Energy signatures show full combat loadouts. These are not diplomatic vessels, Captain. They came here to fight. Chief Engineer Hyuna Choi monitored their own systems from her station. The Phoenix had been upgraded over the years with better engines and stronger hull plating, but it was still fundamentally a diplomatic transport. She ran calculations and shook her head at the results. We cannot outrun them if they decide to pursue. Hyuna Choi said quietly. Our faster-than-light drive needs 12 minutes to charge for emergency jump. They can catch us in under 5 minutes. Medical Officer Taewon. Song prepared his equipment while listening to the bridge conversations he had served on military vessels before taking this assignment, and recognized the signs of an impossible tactical situation. The crew was looking to their captain for a miracle that did not exist. Security Chief Bora Nam checked their limited weapon systems and tried to find any advantage they might have from their Phoenix carried defensive lasers designed to clear space debris and small meteors. Their shields could protect against cosmic radiation and minor impacts, but not against military grade. Weapons Commander Veltar transmitted another message this time with visible impatience in his voice. You have exactly 10 minutes to comply. Human vessels that resist will be destroyed as examples to others. Your species has been peaceful for too long. You have forgotten that the galaxy belongs to the strong. The New Sol sent desperate transmissions on emergency frequencies. Captain Yoon was trying to contact Earth Command, but they were too far from human space for real-time communication. The civilian transport carried 3,000 colonists, including 800 children under the age of 10 families aboard the New Sol, had sold everything they owned to buy passage to their new world. They were teachers and doctors and engineers who wanted to build schools and hospitals on a distant planet now. They faced a future as slave laborers in alien mining operations. Captain Elias walked slowly around the bridge, studying each display from different angles. His crew watched him with growing anxiety as precious minutes ticked away. The Vorthan fleet had powered up their weapon systems and were moving into attack formation. Minho Park received another transmission from the new soul, this time from a desperate father holding his young daughter. Please, if anyone can hear this, we have children aboard. We are not soldiers. We just wanted a new life. Please help us. The communications officer looked at Captain Elias with tears in his eyes. Captain, we have to do something. They are going to take those families. Captain Elias nodded once but still said nothing. He approached the main tactical display and studied the enemy fleet positions for a long moment. His fingers traced patterns in the air as if calculating invisible equations. Jiho Lee noticed their captain making strange gestures and tried to understand what he was planning. Captain, are you seeing something we missed? Is there a way out of this? The silent commander moved to his chair and sat down slowly. His hands gripped the armrests tightly as he stared at the fourth-hand fleet. The crew had never seen their captain show any emotion, but now they could see the weight of an impossible decision crushing down on him. Yuna Choi watched the reactor readings and noticed something unusual. Captain, our power systems are running at higher efficiency than normal. All backup systems are online, even though we have not activated them. Taewon Song looked at his medical displays and saw that life support was operating at maximum capacity throughout the ship. Something is different about our systems today, Captain. They are responding faster than usual. Bora Nam checked the security scanners and found unusual energy patterns throughout the Phoenix. Captain, I am detecting power signatures that should not be possible with our current configuration. Commander Veltar sent his final ultimatum. Your time is running out, humans. 5 minutes remain before we demonstrate Vorthon superiority to your pathetic species. Captain Elias stood up from his chair and walked to the communications console. His crew held their breath as their silent commander reached for the transmit button. 7 years of silence were about to end. The Phoenix drifted closer to the Vorthon fleet, while Captain Elias made his decision. The fate of 3,000 innocent colonists hung in the balance, along with humanity's reputation throughout the galaxy. Minho Park watched their captain's hand hover over the transmit switch. Captain, whatever you are planning, we trust you completely. Karanis. Other crew members nodded in agreement. They had served under Captain Elias for years and never seen him make a mistake. His silence had always preceded perfect decisions. Captain Elias looked at each of his crew members one final time. Then he pressed the transmit button and opened his mouth to speak. The galaxy was about to hear the voice that had been silent for 7 years. Whatever words came next would change everything forever. Captain Elias Kim pressed the transmit button and spoke his first words in 7 years. This is Captain Elias Kim of the United Earth ship Phoenix. His voice carried across all frequencies, reaching every Vorthon vessel and the desperate humans aboard the new Soul. The sound was not what his crew had expected after years of wondering. The voice was calm and clear, but underneath lay something that made space itself seem to hold its breath. Minho Park stared at his captain in complete shock. The communications officer had imagined their commander's voice might be soft or weak, explaining his preference for silence. Instead, he heard authority that seemed to bend reality around its quiet certainty. You have 30 seconds to release the civilian transport and withdraw from this sector. Captain Elias continued in the same terrifyingly calm tone. The bridge of the Phoenix fell into absolute silence. Every crew member felt their skin crawl as they realized their silent captain had not been hiding weakness. He had been containing something far more dangerous. Commander Veltar responded with laughter that echoed across 47 Vorthon ships. One pathetic human vessel against our entire battle fleet. Your species truly is as foolish as we believed. You will surrender now, or we will destroy you after claiming the colonists. Captain Elias checked the chronometer on his display. 20 seconds remaining. Navigator Jiho Lee frantically ran calculations, trying to find some tactical advantage their captain might have discovered. His computers showed the same impossible odds with no way to victory. The Phoenix remained surrounded by overwhelming enemy firepower. Chief Engineer Hyuna Choi monitored their reactor systems, wondering if their commander planned some desperate overload that might damage a few enemy ships before they died. The power readings remained steady with no signs of dangerous buildup. Security Chief Bora Nam readied their few defensive systems, though she knew they would last perhaps 10 seconds against the Vorthon fleet. The energy shields designed for space debris would collapse instantly under military weapons. Medical Officer Taewon Song prepared for casualties while watching, their captain with growing amazement. The breathing pattern he had noticed earlier was not preparation for battle. It was the controlled calm of someone who already knew the outcome. 10 seconds. Captain Elias announced in the same quiet voice. The Fourth N Fleet began powering up their main weapons. Energy signatures blazed across every sensor display as enough firepower to crack a small moon focused on the tiny human diplomatic vessel. Commander Veltar prepared to make an example that would teach the galaxy never to oppose Vorthon expansion. Alien crews throughout the enemy fleet checked their targeting systems and prepared to fire. The humans had chosen death over surrender, proving their species was as stupid as predicted. The destruction of the Phoenix would send a clear message to other civilizations. 5 seconds. Captain Elias said calmly. The crew of the Phoenix braced for death while watching their silent commander in confusion. How could he remain so calm facing impossible odds? What did he know that they did not understand? 3 seconds. Commander Veltar raised his hand to give the order to fire. His fleet was locked onto the Phoenix and ready to demonstrate Vorthon's superiority. The pathetic human captain had sealed his crew's fate with meaningless words. 2 seconds. Captain Elias looked at each of his crew members one final time. His eyes held no fear or regret, only the quiet satisfaction of someone whose 7-year plan was about to reach completion. 1 second. Turbo. Vorthon commander opened his mouth to shout the attack order. Time's up, Captain Elias said quietly. Then he pressed a single button on his command chair. The galaxy exploded into light. Hidden weapon systems activated throughout the Phoenix, revealing that the diplomatic vessel had been disguising military capabilities that defied imagination. Concealed armor plating slid into position while weapon ports opened along the hull. Energy readings spiked beyond anything the crew thought possible. That was not the real surprise. The real shock came when Captain Elias' transmission triggered response beacons that had been silently waiting throughout the sector. Every piece of space debris, every seemingly empty region, suddenly blazed with weapons. Signatures, asteroids split open, revealing missile batteries that had been hidden for years. Communication satellites transformed into weapons platforms. Space stations that appeared abandoned, powered up with enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. Commander Veltar watched his sensors with growing horror as they detected over 3,000 concealed human military installations. The peaceful species had not been conducting diplomacy. They had been preparing for war on a scale that made his imagination seem small. Hidden bases revealed themselves across 17 star systems. Weapons platforms that had pretended to be mining operations for decades showed their true purpose. Defense networks that had been invisible to every scan suddenly announced their presence with targeting locks. Jiho Lee stared at his navigation display in amazement. Every course he had plotted over the years had been carefully designed to position military assets throughout known space. The diplomatic missions had been cover for the largest military deployment in galactic history. Yuna Choi discovered that the routine maintenance she had performed had actually been upgrading weapon systems disguised as civilian equipment. The entire Phoenix transformed around her as hidden capabilities revealed themselves. Taewon Song realized that the extensive medical equipment he had questioned was designed to treat casualties from major space battles. The crew had been part of something far beyond diplomatic service. Bora Nam watched as security systems she had never seen before came online. The Phoenix carried enough hidden firepower to engage entire fleets. Her training exercises had been preparation for real combat. The Vorthon battle fleet found themselves surrounded by weapons that could turn their ships into cosmic dust. Commander Veltar had conquered 12 worlds, but never faced an enemy that had spent generations preparing for his exact tactics. Captain Elias spoke again, his calm voice reaching every ship in the sector. The colonists aboard the New Sol are under the protection of the Human Defense Initiative. Any aggressive action against civilian populations will trigger immediate response from all installations throughout the galaxy. Star charts. Updated across Vorthon displays showing the true scope of human preparation. Every major space lane, every strategic system, every important trade route had been quietly fortified. The peaceful species had built the most sophisticated military network in galactic history. The crew of the Phoenix finally understood why their captain had remained silent for 7 years. Every word could have revealed the massive deception. Every casual conversation might have exposed humanity's true capabilities. 7 years of silence had hidden the greatest military secret in the galaxy. Now the quiet species had shown their teeth. Commander Veltar stared at his tactical displays showing 3,000 human weapons platforms aimed at his fleet. The Vorthon commander had conquered 12 worlds using fear and overwhelming force, but now faced an enemy that had turned his own strategy against him perfectly. All ships power down weapons and prepare for withdrawal. Commander Veltar transmitted to his fleet with defeat heavy in his voice. We are outmatched. The 47 Vorthon warships began shutting down their combat systems while their crews watched in amazement as hidden human installations tracked every movement. The aliens had learned a terrible lesson about underestimating species that appeared peaceful. Captain Elias observed the enemy retreat from the bridge of the Phoenix. His crew stood in respectful silence as their commander returned to his characteristic quiet demeanor. The captain had spoken exactly 43 words in total, but those words had changed galactic politics forever. Will you return to silence now, Captain? Communications Officer Minho Park asked quietly. Captain Elias nodded once, then gestured toward the communications console indicating that routine transmissions would continue as normal. The crisis had passed and their commander saw no need for further speech. The civilian transport. New Sol transmitted grateful messages as the Vorthon threat disappeared. 3,000 colonists, including 800 children, had been saved from slavery by their silent protector. The families aboard the transport would reach their new world safely thanks to words spoken at the perfect moment. Navigator Jiho Lee plotted a new course toward Kepler 442b, where the colonists would establish their settlement. The journey, that had nearly ended in tragedy, would instead become a symbol of humanity's protective reach across the galaxy. Within hours, news of the confrontation spread throughout civilized space. Every alien government received reports that the quiet humans had revealed military capabilities beyond imagination. The species that preferred building to fighting had actually been building the most sophisticated defense network in galactic history. Chief Engineer Huna Choi studied the Phoenix systems with new appreciation for their hidden complexity. The ship that had seemed like a simple diplomatic vessel was actually a mobile command center, capable of coordinating vast military operations. Her routine maintenance had been keeping humanity's most important secrets. Operational Medical Officer Taewon Song realized that his extensive equipment had been positioned strategically throughout human space. Every colony had medical facilities capable of treating major battle casualties. The peaceful settlements had been preparing for conflicts that others dismissed as impossible. Security Chief Boranam understood that her combat training had been necessary preparation for defending human civilization. The extensive security protocols their captain had insisted upon were designed to protect not just their ship, but the entire defense initiative. The Vorthon Empire received Commander Veltar's report with shock and disbelief. The aliens had built their expansion strategy around intimidating weaker species, but humans had proven to be the most dangerous civilization they had ever encountered. How did we miss such massive military preparation? Emperor Velkarn demanded from his throne world. Our intelligence services reported humans as peaceful traders with minimal defensive capabilities. They have been deceiving the entire galaxy for generations. Commander Veltar replied. Every diplomatic contact was military reconnaissance. Every trade agreement positioned weapons systems. Every peaceful negotiation gathered intelligence about our capabilities. Other alien civilizations began re-evaluating their understanding of human nature. The Centauri Alliance requested immediate meetings with Earth ambassadors. The Nexari Collective offered formal apologies for dismissing humanity as insignificant. The Corvin Republic proposed mutual defense treaties. Captain Elias received new orders directing the Phoenix to resume diplomatic missions throughout the Outer Rim. the Defense Initiative, would return to hidden status, but now every alien government would know that human diplomats carried the implicit threat of overwhelming military response. The galaxy will never underestimate humanity again, Minho Park observed while reviewing the flood of communication requests from alien governments. Every species wants to establish better relations with us now. Captain Elias simply nodded and returned to studying star charts for their next destination. The revelation of human military strength had achieved its purpose without requiring actual combat. The quiet species had spoken once and changed everything. Jiho Lee marveled at how perfectly their captain had timed his intervention. 30 seconds was exactly long enough to give them a chance to withdraw peacefully, but short enough to demonstrate we meant business. The colonists aboard the New Soul sent personal messages of gratitude to the Phoenix crew. Children drew pictures of their rescuers while parents wrote letters, expressing their appreciation for being saved from alien slavery. Will the Defense Initiative remain secret now that its existence is known? Huna Choi asked during a quiet moment on the bridge captain. Elias wrote a brief note explaining that the network would continue operating, but alien governments would never again mistake human peaceful intentions for weakness. The deterrent effect had been achieved. Taewon Song treated minor injuries among the crew who had been stressed by the confrontation, but everyone remained healthy. The crisis had ended without casualties thanks to their commanders, perfect timing and overwhelming preparation. The story of Captain Elias and his 30-second ultimatum became legend throughout the galaxy. Alien historians studied the moment when a single human voice revealed that an entire species had been preparing for threats others considered impossible. Military academies across civilized space analyzed how humanity had achieved strategic superiority through patience and careful planning rather than aggression and conquest. The quiet species had demonstrated that the most dangerous enemies were often those who appeared harmless. Years later, when new threats emerged in distant sectors, alien governments found themselves hoping to hear another human captain speak with that same calm certainty. The galaxy had learned that when humans finally decided to break their silence, reality itself seemed to adjust accordingly. Captain Elias Kim returned to his characteristic quiet service, delivering messages and negotiating agreements throughout the Outer Rim. His crew served with pride, knowing they were part of something far larger than any single mission. The Phoenix continued its diplomatic work, but now every alien contact understood the true nature of human peaceful intentions. The species that built, rather than conquered, had revealed they were actually the most prepared builders in galactic history. Commander Veltar returned to Vorthan space with a new understanding of human capabilities. His empire abandoned plans for expansion into human territory. The quiet species had proven they could defend themselves with overwhelming force when necessary. The echo of Captain Elias' words continued shaping galactic politics for generations. Whenever crisis threatened innocent lives throughout the galaxy, someone would remember the day when a silent captain spoke once and changed everything forever. The quiet species had found their voice.